Welcome back, dudes and dudettes. Today we are going to go over my mostly pre-structure deck, Fallen of Albaz deck. Let's just jump right into it. So, main name of the game. We're going to try and get these guys out. Used for most of the fusion summons in the deck. Then we've got 2 Keeper of Dragon Magic to help us find our Fallen of Albaz our branded fusion, and 1 of the fusion materials. Yep, Fallen of Albaz, I believe out of the graveyard. Yep. Next up, we have the 1 artifact Scythe to help Scythe lock our opponent. We have 3 Spriggan's Kit to help with consistency. If you have a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material or in your graveyard, you can special summon this from your hand. And then when you do, it lets you search your deck for a branded spell trap that is banished or in your deck or graveyard. And then lets you put that in your hand and put the card back on bottom. Helps with consistency. Next up, we have 3 Tri-Brigade Mercurial. Helps with keeping your stuff on the board, because whenever your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster, usually that mentions Fallen of Albaz, you can discard this card. You can send it from your hand or face up field to the graveyard to negate that effect. And then if this card is banished, you can search your deck for a Fallen of Albaz or 1 monster that mentions it, except Mercurial. Once per turn, not hard once per turn. Then 1 Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. Just another Albaz-ish target. Then we've got the 1 Aluber, you guys have seen me pull. Helps with searching things out. And then it can special summon itself from the graveyard. We have 1 Ad Libitum of Despia. Helps with getting material or used in materials. Lets you pump all stuff on your field equal to their own level times 100 till the end of your opponent's turn. And then if the start in your hand or field is used as fusion material, sent to the graveyard or banished, you can target 1 Despia monster or level 8 fusion monster, higher that is banished or in your graveyard, except this, and special summon it. You can only use each of these once per turn. Each or just 1? Yep, each. We've got the 1 Dramaturge of Despia. Another, if this is really good fusion material, because if you use it for Albaz fusion, or actually any fusion, I believe, you can special summon it from wherever you sent it. And then it can also, something is summoned, like an abstract monster, you can negate its effects until the turn. Then this 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Springs. Just generic good hand trap. If your opponent does anything that adds a card from their deck to their hand, special summons from the deck, or sends a card from the deck to the graveyard, you can just say no. Pretty good card in general. Had these from the old Salamangreat pre-con that came out forever ago. And we've got 2 Ghost, Ogre, and Snow Rabbit. Decent removal after something uses an effect. So they get 1 use out of it and pop. No more. On to the spells. So for the spells, we have 2 Branded Lost. It helps with making sure your fusions go through. And if a fusion monster is summoned, I can add a Fallen of Albaz from a monster that mentions it from my deck to my hand. Just helps with consistency and make sure your fusion summons get through. Name of the game. Got 3 Branded Fusion. You can special summon Fusion monster mentions Fallen of Albaz as material from your extra deck, using 2 monsters from your hand, deck, or field, so it's really strong. And then I can't special summon anything other than fusion monsters the rest of the turn. I can only do this once per turn. But this is the big payoff card that makes the deck run, really. I've got 2 Pot of Extravagance. The extra deck is kind of important, but card draw is also important, and don't have, what's the other one? Get into the other one off the top of my head. 1, Called by the Grave, to help with making sure your stuff goes through, or just negating random effects that happens to go on. 1, Branded in White as a search target. It is another fusion spell. It lets you fusions. If you use a Fallen of Albaz or a dragon, one or the other, I believe you can use this from your graveyard. Or use cards in your graveyard. Hand or field as material, including a dragon monster. You can only banish monsters from your graveyard as material if you use Fallen of Albaz. So yeah, with the Albion or the actual Fallen of Albaz is in the graveyard, you can use materials from your graveyard, which is pretty strong. 1 Foolish Burial. Got a lot of graveyard synergies. Figured wouldn't hurt to have one of these. And then 1 Gold Sarcophagus. Just worst case, you can banish your Mercurier, get a brand. Is it a Fallen of Albaz or branded card? Fallen of Albaz. Or monster that mentions it. So, you banish a Mercurier. And then you get like a Fallen of Albaz or a Kit. Those are pretty much the biggest things. Sorry about that. Going into the traps now. We have 2 Warning Point. Namely because these seem relatively decent at stalling out in case you end up going first. It stops your opponent almost in their tracks depending on what engine they're using. But when a monster is summoned, any monster, you can target that card, and it cannot attack, and its effects are negated, and it also cannot be used as material for a fusion, synchro, XZs, or linked monster, or linked summon, which is name of the game anymore. I have 2 back to the fronts for the artifact Scythe in the list to help keep your opponents in check. Because this lets you special summon a monster from your graveyard during your opponent's turn, so you can lock them out using the artifact Scythe's ability. I have 1 Branded Sword. All the lists I saw using the budget builds for the 3 precons were recommending using this. I have yet to get a whole lot of use out of it, but I also haven't played too many people using this deck, so I gotta wait and see on that. 1 Ice Dragon's Prison. It's the only one I've got, but it's strong enough that I feel like it's just enough removal that I can get away with it. I'll have enough interaction when you're on the budget end. Going to have 1 Branded Retribution as a search target. When a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, that includes an effect that special summons a monster, you can return to the extra deck 1 face-up fusion monster I control, or 2 monsters in my graveyard that mentions Fallen of Albaz as material. If I do, I negate the activation and destroy the card. I can banish this to add a difference branded spell trap back to my hand. Pretty decent. 1 Judgment of the Branded. Similar thing. Search target. I target 1 level 8 or higher fusion monster I control. Destroy all monsters of my opponent's controls with an equal or higher attack. Because it was sent there... Or no. During the end phase of the start is sent to the graveyard because it was sent there to activate the effect of Fallen of Albaz. For on its summon, you have to discard a card to use its effect. You can set this card, so if it's in your opener and you happen to have a Fallen of Albaz, it just lets you get it right back. And finishing it off with 1 Dogmatic Punishment. Just decent removal, works well with a lot of the extra deck. And yeah, this gets off a lot of searches. And just pops things. Going over the extra deck. Again, this is a budget list using 90% of the cards from the 3 Pretons, but I did have a couple things from previous decks. Got 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Just help with back row removal. Pretty easy to get out. Discards a card, unfortunately, but a lot of your stuff already does that. And it's just easy to obtain spell or back row removal. Going to lead it up with a number 38, Hope Harbinger, Dragon Titanic Galaxy. Rank 8, a lot of your fusions are level 8, so it's not too hard to get out. It just helps with, again, back row, and helps with keeping other things alive. Got 1 Sprint in the list, just because it's a relatively easy summon to get out. It requires a Fallen of Albaz, an effect monster summon this turn. Special summon this turn. During your turn, you can move columns, and then move it to any of your columns, and then destroy whatever's in that column that's face up. Not the worst effect. Next up, we've got, and then also if it's in your graveyard, you can search for a Spriggan's monster, or Fallen of Albaz, and special summon it. So it works well with punishment also. That's why that's in there. Then we've got 2 Brigand, the Glory Dragon, Fallen of Albaz, plus a level 8 or higher monster. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Whenever you control this fusion summon monster, or fusion summon card, can't target other monsters I control with monster effects. So, eats targeted things. And if it's in your graveyard at the end of your turn, or the end of any turn that will send, you can add or special summon 1 Tri-Brigade or Fallen of Albaz. Again, works well with Dark Manic Punishment. Then we're going to go into 2 Albion. This is pretty decent extender. Unfortunately, you usually end up using itself as material for the second summon, but it's another big body. Fallen of Albaz plus a light monster, not too hard to come up with. This card is fusion summoned. I can fusion summon 1 level 8 or lower from my extra deck, except itself, by banishing fusion materials mentioned from my hand, field, or graveyard. Then if it's in my graveyard at the end of the turn it was sent, I can add or set a branded spell trap from the deck. So pretty strong. Also with extending, everything from the branded or Fallen of Albaz fusions seem to work well with Dogmanica. Then we've got 2 Titanic Lad, the Ash Dragon. Just generic beater for the most part. Fallen of Albaz, plus 1 monster with 2,500 attack or more. Gains attack equal to the original levels of the monsters used for its fusion summon. And then it's unaffected by, after it's summoned, for the rest of the turn, it's unaffected by activated effects of any other monster special summoned from the extra deck. So it can get through a fair amount. And then during the end phase, it lets you search or add or special summon an Albaz or Dogmanica monster from your deck. Another decent thing with Dogmanica Punishment. Now getting into the big boys, we've got, wish this would focus a little bit better, 3 Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. 1 Dark Monster plus 1 Fallen of Albaz. If this is Fusion Summon, you can discard a card. Fusion Summon 1 level 8 or lower Fusion Monster from my extract, except itself, by shuffling materials from it, mentioned on it, into the deck from my field, graveyard, or face-up banished card. So it works well with the Albion. Is it Albion? Yeah, Albion. Extends the board. And then I can't special summon monsters. It can't attack. If I use the effect, it cannot attack, and I cannot special summon monsters from the deck except for fusion monsters. But seeing as I've only got like 2 non-fusion monsters, it's not that big of a deal. And then for the big boy, 3 Mirror Jade, the Ice Blade Dragon. Level 8. Yeah, level 8. Fusion monster. It's Fallen Albaz, +1 fusion, synchro, XCs, or linked monster, so an extra deck monster. 3,000 attack, 2,500 defense. I can only control 1 of them. Once per turn, I can, add a quick effect, I can send 1 fusion monster, so any of the big boys over here, or any of these. And it lets me destroy... I can banish 1 monster on the field, and I cannot use this effect during the next turn. So if I use it on my turn, I can't use it on my opponent's turn, and vice versa. And if this card is under my control, it leaves the field because of an opponent's card. I can destroy all monsters during their end phase. It's pretty strong. Going over what I have of a sideboard. It's not much, but it's better than nothing if I ever do decide to go into a tournament of some sort. We're going to go with two effect veilers, just generic effect negation. Sorry about that. We've got 1 Pancratops. Just good removal. If your opponent has more monsters than you, can just slam this on the board and blow something up by attributing it. Then we've got 1 Radian, the multi-dimensional kaiju. Namely because it's a dark and it's a kaiju, I can get rid of something that they have that doesn't fit one of the criteria for one of my fusion monsters. Give them this, especially if I have an Albaz, Fallen of Albaz I'm about to play. Give them this, and then I use this and make it into a big old dragon. Same concept, Gamma Seal, the Sea Turtle Kaiju. This one is just because it is lower attack. And I think it's still level 8. Yeah, still level 8, so it still qualifies for about half of them. But again, just easy removal, gets around untargetable, usually unremovable of creatures. Or monsters, sorry. Then we've got 1 Twin Twisters to help out with back row more. 3 Dark Ruler No Mores to help with getting your board through. Well, not boards through, but your effects through. Because your opponent doesn't take any damage after this resolves. But it lets you get your board out without your opponent being able to interact with you. Followed up with 1 Solemn Strike. I don't know the meta too well, especially not around my local area. But I figured generically being able to stop a special summon would be pretty decent. Same kind of concept with a special... Or this one also negates effects. And then this one lets you negate anything that special summons. Or activates again. Okay. That special summons the monster, yeah. So this stops special summons, this can stop special effects or special summons. 2 kind of floodgatey cards. There can only be 1. Just most of my stuff's dragons, or are they worms? Worms and dragons, looks like. So it looks like a combination. But can only control 1 of each type, so I can still have like a worm and a dragon out. But against decks that are all the same type, this makes them only have 1. So it's not bad. And then finishing off with 2 Dimensional Barriers. Just seems super strong. I've heard people make comments about this being really strong. Again, haven't played it yet. Haven't played this deck against anybody. This isn't on Master Duel, so I have no experience with it yet. But it definitely reads really strong. Declare one monster card type. Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, XCs, or Pendulum. So basically the extra deck plus rituals and pendulums. Doesn't work on links though. First turn, neither player can special summon monsters of the declared type. Also negate the effects of all monsters of that type while they are on the field. While they are on the field? Wow, that is way stronger than I thought. I thought it was only in its 7th turn. You can only activate one of Dimensional Barrier per turn. So there's my Fallen of Albaz, mostly pre-con deck. Doesn't from goldfishing it, doesn't seem terrible. You can get out a big beastie or two at the end. Seemed really fun. These seem really strong. Got some of these things were upgraded foils I got out of those packs you guys have been seeing me open. I think this was one of them out of a pack that I got before I started recording. But yeah, decent looking little deck. I don't think it'd do too hot at a tournament, but you never know. Scythe Lock is pretty strong. Got a fair amount of hand traps. And overall, the deck is supposed to be just generically strong. Well, thanks, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this deck tech. Maybe get in a couple more. Maybe not with this one, but I do have a really bad Fabled deck and a really bad Cyber Dragon deck that I have put together. Hope you guys have a good week. Not sure exactly when this will be up, but hopefully get it up soon. If you guys like my content, please don't forget to like. If you have any questions or complaints about my deck, don't forget to comment down below. And if you really like this content, don't forget to subscribe.